transmission. Hello, everybody. It's Chris, aka Starrapter, here with Ben, here with Milton, who apparently are in the wrong frame. So no, that is not Ben masquerading as Milton, and same thing with Milton here. We are doing this live, everybody. And it's the last one of the year. This is episode 218. We are getting into Star Wars in 2025. We're looking back at Star Wars. We're going to keep it positive. We're going to keep it positive here. All the things we really liked, all the things that we thought resonated with us. We're going to end up ranking, maybe. I think that's how we're going to do this thing. We're going to go like, 3, 2, 1 around the room, round table, and just discuss everything that has come out. I know there's some stuff that's been bubbling with news and whatnot. We're going to keep it really kind of short with that, but because I know there's just going to be so much probably to talk about in 2 weeks' time when we break down the preview for 2026. But for today, it's all about looking back at all the good in Star Wars. Ben, I know right off the top you had something you wanted to mention.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, it's great to be here and always, another year in the books for the podcast. So that's always a great thing. Yeah, I was going to throw out there just as like a reminder for anybody going out to watch Avatar over the holidays, be on the lookout for, the Mando and Grogu trailer, as well as like there's, starting to become physical advertising in theaters. Like I've seen some photos from in theaters of like, hey, coming May 2026. And it was like photos of like the Mando poster and stuff and like cutouts of Mando and Grogu and whatnot. So, they're starting their advertising slowly but surely. I know a lot of people have been talking about like, hey, when are they going to start? When are they going to start? And it's perfect timing to start now. So they actually just started this week with Avatar coming out. So it's great to see them get the ball rolling. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there for any of our viewers or listeners, anybody checking it out after the fact. Be on the lookout for, Mando advertising.
Yeah, I will be. It's a good public service announcement, Ben. I will be going to see the movie. Hopefully, I'm looking at seeing it on the next Saturday here, or this upcoming Saturday. So I'm going to see an IMAX 3D. I'm going to make that trek because when you see an Avatar movie by James Cameron, you got to see an IMAX 3D. Even if it takes you like 30 minutes like me to go to the nearest theater that has one, it's worth it. I've seen Way of Water like that, and it just blew my mind. So I expect it to do the same. But the cool thing is, and I got this from a friend of the show, Din Skysinger, went out there on social media and was talking about how great the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer looked in the IMAX 3D. I do remember the tagline of that first trailer. I think it's even mentioned like made for IMAX. So I will probably also see Mando Grogu in like 7 months' time or whatever it is in May from now in the same theater because that's where I seen The Force Awakens. I always go all the way to PA. Still not close enough to Milton, but it's way closer to me, obviously. But closer to the Philadelphia area over there. But yeah, they say Din and other people are saying the trailer looks really cool. And from what I hear from reports I think the trailer is modified. I think it does have different footage from the teaser we seen a couple months ago. So
That's good to hear. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure, I'm sure they'll release it maybe, in January or February. I don't know. They'll release the full trailer at some point soon enough.
I was actually kind of shocked that they didn't release like a real big, like updated one for this specific thing because from what I can imagine, I think this is Disney's like last big movie, obviously for this year, but like the next one I think on their list, magnitude wise, will be Star Wars. Right? I think there's nothing in
Yeah.
between Avatar and Star Wars that's going to like make a seismic interruption. It was originally going to be Doomsday, and then I got pushed to December. And speaking of which, apparently Chris Evans is back, according to a trailer that plays in
Yep.
front of Avatar, which is, I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah, it's interesting anyways.
Yep. I seen the leak.
Yeah, so anyway, there you go. So everybody that's going out there to Avatar, hope you enjoy the movie this weekend. And yeah, I will, maybe I'll chime in on my thoughts or something on the first episode of the year in 2 weeks when we return. But anyway, yeah, how's it going, Milton?
It's going well, man. I'm glad to be back on the podcast, like always. Looking forward to having a really good discussion tonight. It's funny, I know we're talking about 2025 with Star Wars and what we liked, what we didn't like, but just the other night, and it's funny because I have to tell the story. My wife isn't really a Star Wars head like that.
I'll be
She
right back.
enjoys like when I watch it with her. But what's funny is she said to me, she's like, "Oh man, Milton, 2026 is a big year for you for Star Wars," and I'm like, "What are
Hmm.
you talking about?" And she starts like listing all like these projects from Ahsoka, Maul, Mandalorian, Grogu, and I'm thinking, where are you getting this from? And she's like, I think something popped up on her feed about like what's coming up with Star Wars in 2026, and I'm thinking, this is interesting that my wife is like telling me what's coming up for the new year, and then she's like excited for me because I have all this Star Wars like media coming out. So I just thought that was cute that she put that in my face to say, "Oh yeah, look what you have coming up for the upcoming year." So
There we go. Ben, are you still here by any chance?
he said I think he was coming back.
Oh, okay. Fair enough, fair enough. Um,
He
yeah,
was
no,
coming
it's
back.
it. There's a lot of good stuff coming on the horizon. It's also that she's clued in on like that. It's just like through osmosis, she's discovering everything. That's awesome.
Right. No, it's just so funny that coming from her, if you knew her like that, you wouldn't even think of it. And then it sparked me to think, okay, well, with this coming out, I need you to now watch this eventually. So that's now going to force me to still get her to watch certain things, which we still need to finish Kenobi. I know we're on episode 3. We
Mm-hmm.
have to finish that series to see
Oh
what
yeah.
she thinks. I think she will. I think she enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I think she'll enjoy the rest of the series, but again, just for her to bring up stuff for 2026 will now force me to go back and say, okay, we need to watch this if you want to watch the stuff in 2026.
Yeah, and just for the crowd, and this is what's cool when you join us live on youtube.com/Starrapter and watch the stream live, you might actually have say in where the conversation goes. As per Alex Elkins 1138, hey, I don't know if you're going to cover it today, but did you see the official Disney slate they released for movies and TV shows? And Ahsoka season 2 is not on the list. So it looks like it might not come. Yeah, that's a big thing right now. And I'm
Yep.
hoping it's just a glitch. I'm hoping that somebody just left it off. I don't know how accurate these things usually are, but like it's got to be false, right? Because like the fact is
Been out in the past though.
they've been done filming though for like 2 or 3 months. So like is it that like SFX like special effects heavy, I guess, that like they're behind the ball already? Or is it more of a Disney thing where like here's my like tinfoil hat, right? There's nothing live action Star Wars on Disney Plus coming in 2027. So rather than have Ahsoka and all these things
Yep.
like backloaded into 2026, they're gonna just like push it to 2027 to have subscribers of Star Wars fans at that time or something.
Yep.
Like that's my cynical like tinfoil hat theory is like, yeah, 2026 will still get Maul Shadow Lord, will still get the probably whatever the next iteration of Tales series is, and we'll get
Not the Ninth Jedi.
the Ninth Jedi. We'll get like 3 good things and probably a Lego special, right? Which would still be pretty good. Um, but yeah, I think that's odd and like I don't know what you guys have to think about this. I don't know, Ben. I know you told me
I
about this earlier.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm thinking along the same boats of you, like you and Alex Elkins 1138. I'm thinking like it's probably going to be 2027 to be realistic because we're all excited for it. We banked on it being 2026 and officially, I mean to be fair, even though, we all were expecting it to be 2026, I mean, I don't think they officially ever said it was 2026. So it was just assumption because that's the timeline of filming, of editing, etc. The natural timeline for it would be 2026. But the thing is, to me, like I don't think it's any sort of error on the slate just because I mean they have something as obscure as the Ninth Jedi listed on the slate. So that like if that's on there and Ahsoka's not, that to me is a clear red flag as to like Ahsoka is going to be probably 2027 because if you think about it, you have these projects and then in 27 the only thing is Starfighter and nothing else
And that's the
essentially.
50th anniversary of Star Wars here. So they're going to want to
Yep.
have like a big release on every single
Something
medium
special. And
a
think
big
about it.
video game, TV show, everything.
And think about it this way too. Like, imagine if in Ahsoka season 2, since it's the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, imagine if in like an Ahsoka season 2, maybe we get like a de-aged Luke, or even if they do like if they do a young Princess Leia
Hmm.
potentially appearing, like, you know, that could line up with the 50th anniversary of Star Wars being like, say, like, see Leia on screen again this year or whatever, you know. So I think there's to me it's like an 80% chance Ahsoka's in 2027 at this point.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, getting into housekeeping for the final time for 2025. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. The chat is firing off on all cylinders tonight. It's great to see that for our last show. We got Alex, we got Dale Skywalker, we got Small Bento Sakura in the chat. Just like those guys and girls, you can steer the direction of the show. Maybe sometimes, like when we chime in on comments that the active users are putting in there. So go ahead, join us, and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Starrapter. Hit the bell icon so that way you'll know when we go live. And follow me on social medias at Starrapter on any platform to know exactly when we're going live. I always post those links like the morning of. But yeah, we will go live 7 p.m. on those nights, and we're also available after the fact. You can watch us on the uploaded video on YouTube, or you can listen to us out of room transmissions on any podcast app of your choice. Will be there usually the following day or two. I'll upload that after the fact. But getting into it, we're just going to be celebrating Star Wars in 2025. That's what the crux of the show is all about. Taking a look back, we've done, I don't know, I should have counted up how many actual episodes of the podcast we did in 2025, because we had a lot of great discussions on here, whether it be reviews, whether it be previews, whether it be speculation theories. We've done it all on the channel this year, so it's been really fun with you guys, with some of the guests I've had on, so always a good time. But I categorize what we're going to do is I'm going to just go through the laundry list of all the major things that were released. Then we'll go around the metaphorical table internet here, and we'll just go through and see what things really resonated with us this year. So, oh, I almost left this out. Out this week, Star Wars Jedi Knights issue number 10. It finishes that whole run of the 10-issue series of the pre-Phantom Menace Jedi, Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, all those guys. Great series. I have my review on the channel. I also have my thoughts of that in deeper fashion over on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. Go subscribe, hit the bell on the icon on there as well, because we go live with my friend Matthew on the Tractor Beam show we do every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're taking a break for like the next 2 weeks as we are with this show, just because it's holidays and we want to spend time with our families and friends and all that. But yes, just wanted to point that out there. But yes, getting back to it, I digress. Getting back to it, starting with the live action, and you guys can, if you guys, and that includes you people in the chat live. If I'm missing on something and you put it on the chat, Milton or Ben, just let me know and I'll add it to the list. Live action shows. I think all we had was Skeleton Crew, right? And or season 2, because Skeleton Crew came out like right before Christmas or like early December, right?
Yeah, it bled into January.
That's right. Yeah. And that seems so long ago. It's Skeleton Crew. Oh my gosh, what a great show that was.
Great.
Great.
I mean, I agree. I think that show was it was what's the word I'm looking for? Underrated. Just because, you know, they virtually did no marketing for the show, which was very odd, but they virtually did no marketing for the show. And for the most part, for most accounts, even some of the harshest critics of Star Wars over the past few years really enjoyed the show. Like, it was to me, it was just a well-rounded, buttoned-up show. And, you know, I think they should carry more of a model of that. Like, you know, it was so buttoned up, and, you know, like, I just think they did a really good job with that show. And to me, it was underrated.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, getting into the next one, Andor season 2. What's there to say about this one other than, oh my gosh, this thing fired again on all cylinders? What a great show.
Yeah, I'm about to say I thoroughly enjoyed this season compared to the first season. I mean, the last, was it 4 to 5 episodes, whatever it was, that led into Rogue One. perfect Star Wars in my opinion. I'm sure there are some flaws within it that if I went back and for the second watch, I would say, does that work? But it worked for me. It felt like Star Wars. It was actually, I think, one of the things I was looking forward to and saying, how are they going to tie this into Rogue One, and then leads into obviously A New Hope. Um, Tony Gilroy did his job. He brought back not only the fun of Star Wars, but also he brought back something that I think original trilogy fans didn't like within the prequels, which is still they kept the politics, but he made it work. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a perfect sequencing of how he took the original trilogy, blended in with the end of the prequel series, but then obviously took us into the very familiar 1977 Star Wars. I love Diego Luna. I love him being Andor. I don't see anyone else playing that character. Perfect way to set up the original trilogy and just move forward with that. So I will say that was my favorite live action show of 2025, without question.
Heck yeah. So I'll have a lot more to say about this show in a little bit without showing my cards too much, my hand too much on this one. As for animation, as Lucasfilm, you know, the movies might be on a pause. We might be waiting long amounts of time for new live action series, but animation has always been that one medium that Lucasfilm will keep the franchise alive, and not just like keeping it alive, like, oh my gosh, it's on a lifeline. Like the animation actually has such depth and layers to it that without watching the animation and you're a Star Wars fan, it's a misstep. You should be watching the animation because it does so much to bring new concepts and ideas to the galaxy far, far away. So we started off, I believe, with Tales of the Bounty Hunters. We got Asajj Ventress, we got Cad Bane, Tales of the Underworld, or wait, it wasn't called Tales of the Bounty Hunters. It should have been called that because it pretty much was. I mean, for the most part. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is interesting that they named it that. Just to look back on that, and honestly, I forgot that that was in this calendar year. Like, it just feels like it was so long ago that we watched that. Like, I guess I just consume so much Star Wars content. So much of it just all bleeds together at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, as we're gonna get into a theme this year, it's like I forgot that came out this year. Like that's how busy of a year it's been with Star Wars. Plus with that one we had Star Wars Visions Volume 3. I know that was recent. We all enjoyed that. We had a 3-week consecutive breakdown of all the various shorts of that one. So I know, Milton, that's probably we'll get to the list, but I can imagine. I'm speculating that one might be on there.
Anything that's animation regarding Star Wars, unless it's the Young Jedi Tales that you watch or Star Wars Resistance, I'm loving it. I've always been an animation guy, and I think just to go off a little bit tangent with all the AI stuff going on with Star Wars and all the Clone Wars style of AI that's being used to tell these stories outside of the regular Star Wars canon. I think that's why I like animation even more because that's giving people more opportunities to be creative and to show their side of what Star Wars means to them. But even with these studios, and this is why I relate to what the people are doing outside on YouTube compared to the Visions studios, is that different types of people are making Star Wars, and they were impacted by Star Wars. They weren't American kids in 1977 seeing this movie. They were Japanese kids in 1977. They were Brazilian kids in 1980, or there were Filipino kids in 1983 who saw Star Wars and said, "Hey, I want to create that, but let's blend in our cultures." And we're seeing that in 2025, 26, and beyond. So it's like I love that, and that's why I think I enjoy Vision so much because we get to see different cultures, but it still feels like Star Wars, and we're seeing how it has influenced not only Americans but also the entire world internationally.
Oh yeah. Yeah, gotta agree with that one. Gotta agree with that one. Oh man, it's great seeing the percent, and that's see the Japanese influence and seeing George Lucas get the influence and getting back and giving back to people that inspired Star Wars and let them run with the ideas. Such great stuff, and that's going to be another theme is for this year was people taking the Star Wars IP and putting their own take on the Star Wars IP in something that normally you would not see or think of. So that's my hint at
No, I
something that
agree.
might be on my list later on as well.
Yeah, but what's even I think what's cool about that, it's because I think we as Star Wars fans are so protective of this IP, and we have to tell ourselves this isn't just for us; it's for everybody. And so we can be protective, but it's okay for other people to put their influence and put their stamp on it, and just try to expand it, but tell a different story within a universe. And I think that's a good thing, and I think that's what keeps Star Wars alive and will keep it alive for the next 200 years if we allow other people to touch it in a way that's positive and is going to expand the universe.
Oh yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. As you mentioned, Milton, we also had Young Jedi Adventure Season 3, which was the final 3 episodes of that series. Plus, we had Lego Star Wars Rebuilds the Galaxy, Piece of the Past. Uh, another solid entry. What can I not say about the Lego Star Wars specials? They pretty much hit the nail on the head every time. Like those guys over there with that animation studio, with those writers, everybody involved, always does a great job with those things.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think the big thing that I like the most with the people working on the Lego specials is the fact that they have pretty much autonomy from Lucasfilm and Disney. Obviously they have to have certain restrictions or whatever because it's Lego, but I like that they can tell their story how they want. They can change stuff around. I mean, God, you have like Vader and the Emperor being good guys and vice
Yeah.
versa. Um, and then like even just like the autonomy to
Mm-hmm.
tell jokes and like poke fun at some of the things that like fans have had critiques like they literally are acknowledging critiques that the fans have had in their Lego special, like making fun of Lucasfilm as an IP or Star Wars as an IP. Like they're making fun of the stuff that the fans like they're agreeing with the fans and some of their little jokes they put in there, which is so funny. um that they even have the autonomy to do that. And I appreciate that because it's like, hey, that's self-awareness to, the cult, like the vibe of like what fans are feeling about certain things. Even when Mark Hamill was involved a couple years ago with it, like when he did his whole thing, like so I really like that they have the freedom to kind of like truly create what they want. It's kind of like with the Visions people, they can do whatever they want essentially. So I really like that with the Lego crew.
Yeah, I mean, come on, they're doing a Snoke theory joke when they're like, oh, it's a pit of Snokes or something. It's like, oh, they're doing a Snoke theory that was going around about 10 years ago. Oh,
Yep, Snoke theory. I mean, heck, they're making fun of different names, like the whole Emperor thing. Emperor saying like Starkiller Base is the dumbest name I've heard. Like just different little things like that, or even like Luke reacting the way he did. Like I just like that they acknowledge those outside things that fans have talked about and that have been like popular in the fandom. Like I like that a lot with the people that work on it. Like it's definitely nice. And honestly, with Mark Hamill working on those, I mean, he's part of the fans. Like he sees a lot of that stuff online and everything. So like I'm sure he has input creatively like that, and brings up and like, hey, fans are buzzing about this or whatever.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Shifting gears into gaming. Now, we didn't really have an official, well, actually, yeah, an official Star Wars game released like on the caliber of like an Outlaws or Jedi Survivor or anything like that this year. We had a couple update, at least one update to Star Wars Outlaws with like the Hondo DLC, which was a lot of fun. But Tales from Beyond the Galaxy VR, and that's not even described as a video game. It's created as like it's called a like an interactive playset, and from what I know, there's a very short, truncated kind of story, which is like less than 2 hours long. And I haven't actually got my hands on this thing, so I can't really talk about it. But what we do have that I could talk a lot about, which I already talked a lot about with my buddy Fighter about 3 or 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we talked a lot for a whole hour and a half about Destiny 2 with Renegades. As I was alluding to with other people taking the property and putting their spin on it, I think that the creators and the devs and the wizards over at Bungie did a great job with just making a Star Wars game inside of a pre-established IP that works so well with the other IP. Did a great job with that one. Absolutely loved it. I still want to get into the dungeon and get my dark saber. Ben, you can literally get a dark saber in this game. It's insane. It looks
Yeah,
so good.
that is really cool for someone who honestly has never played 1 millisecond of Destiny before. It is really cool though that they have that, and like, just cool for the people that play it that are Star Wars fans that cross over. Like, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Getting into the publishing side of things, starting with novels. I mean, this has been such a strong year for Star Wars novels. It just might be the strongest year ever for Star Wars novels. And I'm strictly talking about the adult novels from Random House Worlds. So we started off the year with Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear, which is just like taking place like days or weeks after Revenge of the Sith, dealing with the fallout of the battle over Coruscant. There's wreckage that's spilling all over Coruscant. Meanwhile, you have Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera scrambling to find out ways to deal with the Empire. Saul has his kind of crazy ways, as we know he is. We have Mon Mothma, who's trying to still be in the Senate and dealing with the stuff, and then Bail Organa's obsessed with keeping the lineage of the Jedi alive. Such amazing, great ideas, and there's moments that Alexander Freed, the writer, wrote in this book that I'll never forget. Like, simply that I'll never forget. Like, these horrifying moments of the tyranny of the Empire and the fear that these people that are under the boot of the Empire, even in this early age, I absolutely love this book. So we had that one, and I thought that you can't beat this. Not only that, but we had the ending of an entire like 4 or 5 year, I think it's 4 years of the High Republic. We got an ending from Charles Soule's Trials of the Jedi. I mean, you talk about Charles Soule getting just the keys to the kingdom of Star Wars. The guy basically created something on the level of what Dave Filoni or George Lucas would, with including a Mortis-like entity plot moment thing in this story that just kind of echoes like a Greek tragedy and like mythology of like something of that magnitude. It was awesome. It was incredible. What a way to end so many awesome stories and wrap it all together. And then if that wasn't only it, The Bad Batch Sanctuary, a book that I just panned from the get-go because I was like, why do I care about a Bad Batch story that's not even continuing the adventures after season 3? Why do I care about a book that's taking place basically in between 2 episodes of season 2 that came out 3 years ago? Why do I care? Well, Lamar Giles definitely showed me why I should care. And he really made me care a lot more about the Bad Batch, to the point where I started watching the series again immediately after finishing this book. Such amazing moments. This is how you do a deep introspective study of characters that you thought you already knew, and they add even more layers. Amazing stuff. And then for the first time ever on the channel, Ben, you and I just randomly went off on a tangent and maybe spoiled most of the book of Master of Evil by Adam Christopher. What a book. What a novel. Now, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect book by any means. I think a lot of people out there were saying, like, look, you guys got to realize this is not going to be from the vantage point of Vader. It's from a Royal Guards guy, right? But we really gravitated towards some of these more, again, Mortis-like kind of like force cool stuff that was happening with Vader at certain moments, and the respect of Vader and how people are dealing with Vader as this guy that's just comes out of nowhere, right? Like the Empire is its infancy, and all of a sudden you got this dark Lord guy walking around. Who the hell is this guy? What rank is he? Where do I fall in dealing with this guy and my orders and all? So those 4 books, guys, were just enough to make me go, this probably was the best year of Star Wars books in any sense of memory I can relate to. So
Oh yeah, it's definitely the best year I would say under the Disney umbrella for sure, by far.
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't read any of the books this year or listened on audiobook, but I do have Master of Evil and Reign of the Empire on my queue in my
nice.
section. Because I've heard, especially for Masters of Evil, or excuse me, for Reign of the Empire, I heard like if I really want to understand, after the Republic is being decimated, that transition, kind of like what's the Vader book? Darth Vader: Rise of the Dark Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds you of that book. So I really want to listen to that one. And then obviously Master of Evil. I heard that the perspective isn't what you think at first. Like you're thinking it's Vader, like it's through his eyes, but it's not. Which I think that'd be kind of odd, but it would make sense if it's through the eyes of non-Vader people to say, like, yeah, who the hell is this guy? Like, how do we work with him? So I'm curious to see what that looks like after I start reading them.
Yeah, I think with the Master of Evil book for you and anybody like going into it, just throw out the idea altogether of it being from Vader's perspective. Don't don't have that expectation at all because there's when you see Master of Evil on the cover, like you think it's a Vader book, whatever. But like I would honestly just go into it as just you're going into just go into it neutral, like you're going in to just listen to a new Star Wars story versus like, oh, from this character's perspective or that character's perspective. And I think that will make it a lot more enjoyable than even like when me and Chris were listening and reading to it. Because like going into it for me and Chris, it was like, man, we were like looking for like a Vader story, and then it turned into this other story that was still a good story, but it wasn't exactly a Vader story per se. um it was but wasn't. So like just go into it looking as it more of a neutral just perspective, like, hey, it's just a good Star Wars story.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Oh yeah. So there you go. The books were pretty awesome this year. Getting into comics a little bit iffy, if I'm being honest. The comics, as me and Matthew over on the Tractor Beam show say, seems like it's a transition year for comics. It definitely seems, especially from Marvel, like they're throwing stuff at the wall, seeing if it sticks. And while some of it has been good, some of it has definitely felt like, okay, what are we doing here? Why are we telling this story? Why is it truncated? Why is it only 4 issues? Why does it feel like the ending issue just tried to wrap up everything at light speed and then left us to feel like there's a little bit more to be desired here? Star Wars flagship, like this should be a big deal. This should be a big deal. This is probably where my miss is for this year. If there, my miss of the year is probably the Star Wars flagship series by Alex Segura. I mean, you would think that a story that's based on Luke, Han, and Leia after the Battle of Jakku, which is a time period we've never seen of the big three, would be something that people would talk about every single month when a new issue came out. You hear crickets online. You don't see anybody commentating but my own videos talking about this
Yep.
comic book series. It just has fallen flat. And unfortunately, it just seems like it's a rather dull story. And it's almost like, why bother telling? I hate to say that. I hate to sound so grating like this, but what was the point of telling the story? Because maybe it should have just been left that Luke, Han, and Leia just have had peace for 30 years if we're going to tell a story like this. Because it's, yeah, there's some cool action in there and all, but it's simply nothing to write home about. And it's weird that a Star Wars story that is the flagship mainline comic is getting shut down at 10 issues. That's not a good sign. We're used to seeing these things go for at least 50 issues because that's what happened with the first run that takes place in between A New Hope and that's what takes place between Empire Return of the Jedi. Each of those series went on for like 3 or 4 years, and we can't even make it out of this one for a freaking year, and we're already canceling it essentially. So that's where I'm concerned. What is happening here with Marvel, Lucasfilm? Are you guys just handcuffing Alex Segura and saying, "Oh, because we're doing Mandoverse stories, you can't do anything that's going to build these characters and make them any different than what we already know them as, because everything feels very safe in this one."
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. I mean, plain and simple. I mean, not to sound like negative or whatever, but like to give my 20-second spiel. I mean, it's just because like I know I grump about quote unquote canon or whatever, but it's because there's so many guardrails because of them like being
Hmm.
so locked in on canon, where they're like, well, you can tell a story about Han, Luke, and Leia, but keep it as vague as humanly possible because we don't want it to affect potentially on-screen material, whether it be a TV, movie, or video game. You know, we all love the books and everything around here on the podcast, of course, because we're hardcore fans. But to me, like, I don't know. To me, I think it should be flip-flopped almost, Chris, where it's like do some stuff in the books to draw people in, like draw us in with cool imagery,
Yeah.
like with Han, Luke, and Leia. But they kind of flip flop it where to me, like, if you want to be safe, I would do it on screen. Be a little more safe on screen because then you may have more of a neutral to positive reaction with fans, aka customers. So like, I don't know, I just yeah, that's a whole that could I could do a solo 7-hour podcast about that. Like,
But
yeah.
this is funny though, guys, because on the flip side of this one, we have the best comic series of the year, and that is Legacy of Vader,
Mm,
by Charles Soule. And what he does in this one is you already have a well-defined story with the sequel trilogy. That story is told. We know what happens. We've seen all three movies. This story takes place in between Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, deals with Kylo Ren becoming supreme leader the moment literally after the Last Jedi. We see him discarding of the body of Snoke in front of all the First Order soldiers on the supremacy or whatever, and he's like, I am now the supreme leader. And then it just goes from there and goes, now what does he do? It gets into the head of Ben Solo slash Kylo Ren going, why does he do what he does? Peels back the layers. You're seeing things that I had wish fulfillment of from The Last Jedi, such as Luke Skywalker basically in the head of Kylo Ren, goading him on and pressing his buttons, seeing stuff with the Knights of Ren. This, guys, is how you do a comic story that is going to actually be impactful and be a reason for people to go to the shops every month it comes out. And we've been missing that from the comics. The early years, it was like that. It was like every week you'd want to show up because there'd be something new to read. And that was like the early 2015, 16, 17 era of comics. We've kind of lost that, but at least this book is still kind of capturing that. So, really love this one. I think there's literally only one issue left for this one. It's going to have 12. Hopefully we get more. Um, we also had Jedi Knights, which I just announced earlier came to an end. Great anthology series. We also had Han Solo and the Hunt for the Falcon. That was a great. Well, it's still going on as well. There's one more issue for that one. It's like the prequel, another good one. It's like a prequel to The Force Awakens for Han Solo, specifically lost the Falcon. He's trying to get it back from the Irving boys, trying to get it back from Unkar Platt, but at the same time, it's embellishing and honing in on the relationship between Chewie and Han Solo, which, as I said with Matthew on our reviews on that channel, like this is something we don't really see a lot of, like that kind of introspective look at like what makes these two characters tick. Why does Han rely on Chewie and vice versa? And it gets into the really difficult thing, guys, of Han dealing with the separation from his wife and having the grief and dealing with the grief and having this crisis in his life where he feels like the only thing he can ever do is smuggle and be a smuggler because it's the only thing he's ever really been good at. So again, a really nice, impactful story that shows us something new about a character and gets into some places that are a little bit uncomfortable, but they are right for doing it because it shows us this character in a different light. So while there were misses like the Star Wars flagship mainline series, the other three comics I just mentioned were worth going to the comic store for. Wait for the trade, get the trade, whatever you want to do. And these are just like a highlight. I know there's a lot more comics out there that came out this year. I can't even list them all because Marvel publishes them. So these are the ones that were on the forefront of my mind, guys. So don't scream at me in the comments saying you missed one. I probably have missed several. But all right, so we're gonna move right along from there. Couple more things to go over. Okay, Hasbro, Lego Ultimate Collector Editions, Death Star. Cool. It's really expensive. It's $1,000. I'm never gonna buy it unless somebody wants to gift it to me, which I'd be highly, I would highly thank you for that. And then we also had the HasLab Republic Gunship Drama, where that thing seemed like it was doomed to fail in the last 11th hour. There must have been some very wealthy benefactors that decided they want this thing and maybe bought like 3,000 participant entries or something like that to get this thing to go by.
Insane. You know what's funny though?
Honestly, I was gonna say, like I said before we started the call, the easy summary on both of those products: overpriced, and in my opinion, a complete waste of money. So don't ever buy those, people.
I seen a news story. This is another tangent among many tonight, guys. That apparently Mads Mikkelsen was hanging out with Lars Mikkelsen. So imagine Galen Erso hanging out with Grand Admiral Thrawn. They're brothers, guys. So they were hanging out for Christmas, and Lars was like, "Hey, do you want to help me, Mads, build my Death Star?" And the guys were building the ultimate. I'm pretty sure it was the Ultimate Collector Death Star they're building together when they're hanging out for the holidays.
Man,
Say, if you
they probably had to use their employee discount to get it. It's so expensive.
right, I mean, unless Disney was trying to use them to market so people can buy it, give them the incentive.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, we talked about this when that was announced. There's no way I'm spending $1,000 on a Lego set. No, don't get me wrong. All three of us enjoy Star Wars Legos in a sense of like the toys and putting them together. I mean, if I had the space, if I had the extra money, I'm sure I would potentially invest in something like that. Like I always want to get a Star Destroyer Lego set. Like that'd be cool. I told that to my wife before. It's one of my goals, especially when we get our own place together and I get my man cave. I plan on getting something like that. But I can't justify that now. And just yesterday, and this is so funny, I went to a comic book shop yesterday to actually sell some of my old Star Wars comics that I had. But I went there, and this guy's collection of Star Wars figures were insane. And it made me think of the time when I was 10, 11 years old of like the Power of the Force series. Like, what happened? What happened to that type of marketing when it comes to the figures and the toys? And it's like, remember how they used to base it off like the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy and stuff like that? Like Star Wars has gone away from that when it comes to marketing their toys. I feel like there's no lore to it anymore. There's no excitement. It's just like, okay, here's the Lego set.
Yeah.
Here's a new figure. Like, I don't see anything out there when it comes to that stuff. I mean, the last time they did it was Force Friday.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's funny because it's been 10 years. Like it's crazy to sit here and say like 10 years ago, all three of us were going to watch Force Awakens around this time, right? Like, and Force Friday happened like a month before that or something. I have footage. Like I'm probably gonna go back after the next day or two and watch my own YouTube video of me documenting my adventures of running through the Toys R Us in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and trying to get to the toys. And it was amazing because they had everything out, the Legos, the Hasbro, all that stuff, man. It was just like a Christmas morning as an adult, It was amazing, but we don't have that excitement anymore, right?
And it really isn't there. And I wish they would do that. I mean, and again, I will always appreciate what they tried to do when they relaunched Star Wars back in 2012, 2015. I think that's great. But it stopped becoming an event when it comes to selling merchandise and exclusives. Now it's like, here's X, Y, and Z price tag. Yeah, it's going to be exclusive, but not everyone can afford it. It's like, what are we doing? I mean, it's not worth it anymore. It doesn't feel special, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
100%. It feels like, to be honest with you, like most of the cool stuff, it's just like a cash grab now. And it's unfortunate because some of the best parts of Star Wars over the years has been products. I mean, that was what George Lucas really launched a lot of things off of was products. And like you said, Milton, it's just like the 90s and early 2000s and even the 2015s when with Force Friday, like all that was really good. And it just feels like it's transitioned away from that, where it's like, hey, either spend $1,000 on this Lego set or don't get anything.
Yeah, and literally walking in this comic book shop yesterday and seeing like the Phantom Menace brand,
Yep.
the Force brand, I'm thinking, man, Milton, like if I only had the desire to start recollecting Star Wars figures, because I remember that was peak Star Wars when those
Yep.
series were being launched with the toys. I mean, I had my
Remember the
Luke
figures had the little
Skywalker.
live action shot of them, like a
Yes.
little shot.
Yep. I remember always freezing my Luke Skywalker in a cup of water because he was frozen in carbonite. Like that. I'm dude. I'm telling you, that was peak
I did
childhood
that.
for your boy. I think I still
Yep.
have like my what's the ship from not Phantom Menace, the yellow ships from
And
oh my
the
god,
the
Naboo
Naboo
Starfighter?
Starfighter.
yes, the Naboo, no, yep, the Naboo Starfighter. I still have that somewhere. I love that thing when as a child. Like I always took it with me. And
Yeah.
low key, I want to like start collecting that stuff again. But now I've been in the Power Ranger phase the last like 10 years.
Oh.
So I'm trying to stay away from like collecting another brand.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, dude, Star Wars was peak
Well, Milton,
when
I
it came to like
seen.
selling those figures.
Yep. I mean, not to like turn this into a side tangent of Star Wars marketing, but I seen a thing pop up on Instagram the other day. It was from the marketing of Revenge of the Sith, and it was when they they always had the lightsabers you could buy from the store.
Yep.
Well, it was that
Yeah.
it was the create a lightsaber where was the hilt where you could take it apart, put the
Uh-huh.
crystal in, all that stuff from Revenge of the Sith. And I seen that
Yeah.
someone reposted the advertisement for it, and it's like build your own lightsaber, and it shows like a kid levitating the lightsaber and putting the
Yeah.
toy crystal in it and everything. And I was like, man, that was like peak Star Wars advertising back then.
Peak.
Like,
Dang.
Peak. Also, do you remember the Star Wars micro machines?
Yeah, I
yep,
love those
I had
things.
so
Dude,
many of those little
I
things.
oh my god, I remember wanting those so bad because I think they had like the Death Star one, and I was like, I need to get that. And like all the
Yep.
ships, and like I'm
Yeah.
like, man, like it
Oh,
just
they're so
made you
cool.
want to say, Mom, Dad, I need this. Yes,
Oh
we
yeah,
still
no,
probably couldn't afford it, but I was asking.
they yeah, the Star Wars micro machines. Let me see. I think yeah, I knew I had one sitting around
Oh my gosh,
You
actually
got one?
because
listen,
my niece hold on, my niece was playing with it just a couple days ago. It's the well, it's like not even micro machine. I think it's Micro Machines brand. It's a mini
yeah,
sand crawler. And look, you
Oh.
yeah,
inside of it you can see like the droids and
What?
everything like and whatnot.
yeah.
But, but yeah, it's like and this is heavy metal too.
Oh.
Like but
You might
yeah, hey,
want
there's
to
a little
hold on to that. Maybe put it on the
yeah.
eBay or something.
I know little bonus. Oh, that's probably 30 years old. But yeah, no, the products and all that stuff back then. That was definitely peak
Oh
Star
yeah.
Wars Star products, anyways.
Speaking of Revenge of the Sith, this is one I didn't have on my list. Coming to us from Alex. On his list, one of his things was the Revenge of the Sith re-release in theaters. So yes, there was
Yes.
Star Wars in the theaters.
Yeah,
You guys all seen it, right? In the theater?
Yep.
And I mentioned it here, like that was a memorable moment that again I will never forget. Sitting there with my girlfriend in the 4DX theater, not knowing what we were gonna experience, and then by the end of the 2 hour plus movie, we're like, that was kind of intense, and we're not doing that again because we're shaking up and down, getting our brains rattled, and not a dull moment, getting sprayed with water, getting punched in the back. It's like it was a crucible to get through that movie like that. It was nuts.
yeah. I
Oh yeah.
remember, and because my wife and I went, I think it was like a random like Wednesday or Tuesday night. It was like maybe like the couple days before they were going to take it out of the theater, and I wanted to go see it, and I was like, yeah, we're seeing it, and it was still just as good as I watch it at my house. Like oh, it's I love that movie, and
Well, and
seeing it in
it
theaters
made
again.
almost 50 million, I think. is what
Yeah,
it
it
was.
made a
It
lot
was
of
Close
money.
to it.
and again, this is and I'm gonna throw shade at all those weird haters out there who are like, "Oh, the prequels are trash." Yeah, it
Yep.
made 50 mil. Okay, it ain't trash, dog. Because literally, even OG Star Wars fans are starting to come around on it and say, "Hey, we really
Yeah.
did appreciate Hayden Christensen. We actually do really appreciate the story they were telling. Oh yeah, besides the way we love the Clone Wars. Oh, besides the way we love Hayden as Anakin, and now that he's
Yeah.
back and everything. Stop, like, come on, like that. He's getting his flowers. So let's go. I can't wait for them to do other re-releases. I know they're doing what's his 2027 again?
The New Hope,
Is
like
that
unaltered
New Hope, the
thing.
original New Hope.
yeah. Can't wait for that. I've never seen it in theaters. Can't wait for Empire. When Empire comes out, look out because I'll probably be camping out. Because that's going to be a good time. So I love that we got that this year. I'm looking forward to them doing that more often. I think that's another way to unite the Star Wars community with these re-releases because a lot of fans of different cultures and ages and families are come together during that time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the last thing on my list here would be Star Wars Celebration Japan. The Makuhara Messe happened back in April. What an awesome time. A lot of announcements. We got the Starfighter announcements, which now we know the thing is completely done filming, which is really cool, by the way. We just got that message last week, which is awesome. Sean Levy posted on social media saying, it is wrapped, it is finished. Now, there's probably gonna be reshoots. I'm not saying like that's a bad thing that happens in every movie, but like the principal photography is finished. But so that got announced. Maul Shadow Lord got announced there. So, and I'm not gonna run through the whole list of everything that was announced there, but it was a great time. It was a great time. I think what we'll just do for sake of time here is we'll just go around and say, as difficult of a choice as it was, what our favorite thing for Star Wars was this year. I'll throw it to Milton on this one first. And hopefully, if you don't have it yet, I can go with mine, or Ben can go with his.
Yeah, I think my favorite it's between Andor, the end of Andor season 2, those episodes,
Hmm.
but also Star Wars Visions. Um, Again, I think probably more Visions than Andor, just because I've always been a fan of that series in particular. I again wasn't disappointed, except for the last episode, which was trash, which we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Other than that, though, I thoroughly enjoyed that we got sequels to stories that we love from season one. Can't wait for the Ninth Jedi series in 2026. I think they need to continue Visions, making an event thing. It don't need to be released every year. I like how they have been releasing it. So Star Wars Vision was probably my number one thing of 2025. And honestly, I'll throw in a third one, the re-release of Revenge of the Sith. I think that was another high moment for me as a Star Wars fan. It was a great watch, like always. It felt like I was 17 again, 2005, watching that movie. So yeah, between Andor, Visions Volume 3, and the re-release of Star Wars Episode 3.
Yeah. We'll just go with our three then, because I have three on my head.
Yeah,
Ben, give us your three, and we'll.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty easy. Revenge of the Sith for all the reasons we've already talked about and expanded on. It was great seeing it, and it was just awesome getting to see it again with my younger cousin. Because he's only 25, and he never got to see it in theaters because he was literally 5 years old. So we went and seen it, and that's his favorite Star Wars movie personally. So it was really cool getting to see his reaction, and we actually went to a what do you call it, a midnight screening of it. So that made it even more fun. Um, so it literally felt like the early 2000s going to that and whatnot, and it was a great time. And the craziest part about that whole experience going to the midnight
Yeah.
screening was it was packed. It was literally packed.
Wow.
It was full. There was probably, I don't know, 100 people there or whatever. It was
Holy.
packed, and it was like, this is crazy, and especially with me, like, I don't live in a big city like you guys do, and it was like, wow, these people came out to see Revenge of the Sith, in this small town in Ohio. So that was really cool. And then number two for me would have to be um, more of just the future of Star Wars is what I would say. Just because I'm excited for the mall show going into 2026. I'm excited for Ahsoka whenever we get that show. Like it sounds, they're pretty much wrapped on filming with. I think they are wrapped on filming with that. I'm excited for the future of that. I'm excited for the Mando movie. I'm excited for whatever Starfighter brings, and I'm just interested to see the future of Star Wars. So that's kind of my second one. But my first one, and I alluded to it at the beginning, is something I think that Milton would. I think I could tack on probably even as an honorable mention for Milton's list too. Is for me my number one has to be just how fans are creating things with Star Wars in general with the AI technology that's out there, because like to me the fans being able to go out and create their own stories and tell them how they like and you know part of the big thing like George Lucas encouraged back in the day like when Star Wars Celebration even first started was like fan films and things like that. Now we're seeing these all these like AI Star Wars creations that fans are doing and it looks really good like and it's in Clone Wars animation style,
Wow.
so it looks yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, a lot of them like um Skywalker Stories, he's one of my favorite creators because he does these animations of like Luke, whether it be Luke talking to Anakin or Luke going and doing stuff or Vader talking to whoever or all these things. I seen one he posted of Anakin trying to like talk to Leia, during the shortly after the events of Return of the Jedi, and like Leia was kind of like rejecting him still because of
Hmm.
like, because of his past of him being Vader. And she's like, hey, she pretty much said what a lot of people say about like, oh, how Anakin turned good so quickly and became a Force ghost. She pretty much, in that animation that Skywalker Stories created, she was like, hey, like, just because you do one good act doesn't wipe out all the things that you've done the past 35 years or whatever. So like, there was a lot of cool moments like that that creator created like that. And to me, that's just like my number one Star Wars moment of the year, just seeing fans get more and more creative power in terms of like, hey, they can create what they want. And I'm excited for the future of Star Wars in that regard because like it's crazy. Like some of these animations these people are making are better than what like animation was for Star Wars 5 years ago, like or whatever. Like it's crazy to see how quickly the fan power is adding up. And I was like, man, I gotta have that as my number one thing because
Yeah.
I mean that's something I feel like me and Milton both consume so frequently. We see these fan animations. Me and Milton are always sharing them back and forth on Instagram every week to each other. It seems like because it's always a really cool new like fan created story. So that would be my number one thing.
Yeah, I love that, right? It doesn't have to just be our favorite release of something that was content. It could
Yep.
be ideas. It could be anything, even unofficial. So love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah, what people are doing in the space right now is just unbelievably cool. We've seen it before, where like Lucasfilm will see people making stuff and they'll scoop them up, and they'll be working officially with
Oh,
Lucasfilm.
Chris, one of the animations I seen was so crazy. They literally did, um, you know, Vader going back to Tatooine was one of the animations, and him like, like seeing like the beats of his Anakin's past and stuff, and like he was
Hmm.
getting like echoes of like the Tuscans and things, and like because Vader was going and that was when he was like in his search for Obi-Wan and everything, and like,
Hmm.
and they had it, they had like a continuation of that one where uh he actually once they found out where Obi-Wan was, the Empire, like after Luke and after all of them left Tatooine, they had an animation where Vader went back and like found Obi-Wan's hut and was like, you know,
Hmm.
basically saying to Obi-Wan like you knew I would never come back here. Like I can't believe you hid here like in fear and everything and use this against me type of deal. Like so it was just it's really cool seeing what fans can do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess it comes back to me. So number three for me would be, oh man. What am I gonna pick? What am I gonna pick? It's just like 50-50 shot here. I'll go with the ending of the High Republic. There you go. I've been following this thing. I've read, to my knowledge, every single thing released for the High Republic. So I'm in, man. Like, this thing had to stick the landing. If it didn't, I'd be the first to say that it could have been better. But no, this thing was awesome. As I mentioned, the way Charles Soule closed it out, just really cool, force stuff, but also very deep stuff that has a way to continue in the future, which is always great. Like, it's not, there is a conclusive ending, but there could always be more. We know that there's going to be more exploration into that era. So absolutely loved it. Huge props to Charles Soule for somehow finishing this thing, because it's not just him. It's like 10 other creators that were writing those stories. So it's a big thing to do that. Second one, it's very hard to never just say this is the best thing whenever it comes around. And at a Star Wars Celebration Japan, keep telling you guys, one of these years we got to make it out to one, all three of us, and hopefully that'll be 2027 in Los Angeles. But it was cool seeing it in Japan, as you see my reviews and all that stuff. Like, being in being in a foreign country, in another kind of complete culture that's completely different from the West, and seeing how they have fun celebrating Star Wars, how the locals of Japan really embrace the culture, really have an awesome idea for the cosplays that infuse samurai and the cherry blossoms, and how all the different booths were taking on the iconography of Japan. Absolutely loved it. I mean, even going as far as like the food court, having all the really cool Japanese delicacies. Like, it really was, the celebration is pretty standard most years, but this one felt special because it was really paying homage to the location it was in. So absolutely loved it. Number one's got to be Andor season 2. I was at a bar the other day with some people from work, and I got on the top of Andor, and the guy proceeded to stop talking to me after in mid sentence. He said, "Hold on, I'm texting my mom right now to tell her to make sure she watched season 2." He's like, "I gotta make sure I tell her this now." I'm like, "Yes, you should," because my explanation of why he ended up doing that mid sentence was, this show will change how you watch Star Wars. Like, after almost 50 years of the franchise going on at this point, I said this show will change how you view Star Wars. Simply put, it sounds like a hyperbolic statement, but it is actually true. And I didn't obviously spoil it for either of my friends that were there, but I just gave them a strong enough point and statement to say, you need to watch this show. You need to, because it's the rebellion, and it's not as cut and dry as you would think it would be, right? There's a lot of political espionage and all this stuff, and layers to characters and ramifications and everything like that. And we've been through that. We've talked about it. What more good is there to say about Andor? Absolutely loved it. I'm happy it exists, and it's just going to be among the pantheon of Star Wars forever. It's going to be great. So there you go. I think that just about does it. I think we covered everything. I made some changes thanks to the people in the chat because they were chiming in, and thanks to them, I was able to add a couple things in there on the fly. So, see, as I said off the top of the show, you can participate in the direction of the show. Just subscribe to youtube.com/Starrapter and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we go live. We're going to take a week off. We're going to just enjoy time with family and friends, but we will be back in 2 weeks, and that'll bring us into 2026, where we'll be previewing the entirety of 2026 with Star Wars, what we know so far, and maybe some speculation of what we could see announced, things like that. It'll be a fun show 2 weeks from now. But gentlemen, thanks for a good show, and thanks for a good year. I kind of lost track of how long we've been doing this show. Sometimes it's been years at this point, which is crazy to say. But it's always a blast doing this show with you guys. So thanks again. Thanks again for being on the show. Milton, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on X at Milton Weber 7 or Instagram at Milton 7 Weber. Just want to say thank you guys for listening and watching, and being part of our show for the last, like, what was it, 4 to 5 years at this point. Hopefully you
Yep.
guys have a good holiday season, enjoy your Christmas, Enjoy your New Year's. Enjoy your family. Stay safe. Looking forward to 2026. I have a lot of high hopes for Star Wars in the next 3 to 4 years. I think we will get back on track and give us live action stories and movies that we love. I think the animation will be consistently what it is, which is great. And hopefully the novels will continue to be as entertaining and as insightful as they've always been when they're released. So, other than that, though, thank you guys for being part of the show. 2025 was another successful podcast season.
Oh yeah. Thanks again. And what about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I can echo all those same sentiments as Milton. It was a really good year on the podcast, talking Star Wars almost every week or every other week. It's always a good time. And, like you guys said, I think this was year number 5 because I think we started about halfway through 2020. So yeah, we got about a half decade of Star Wars podcasting under our belts. So think about that. It's been a really great time on here talking Star Wars and whether we agree, disagree, or anywhere in between. It's always a fun time to talk with you two and then anybody else that comes on the show or any of our viewers and listeners. And, here's to another good year of Star Wars podcasting in 2026. And, like you said, Chris, here in a couple weeks, we'll be back to preview all of the upcoming things, whether it be Maul or the Mando movie or speculation if Ahsoka is or isn't coming out, and everything in between. So, yeah, thanks for everybody for listening and joining in. And you can find me talking about all of this stuff at Real Ben Maynard on X and Instagram.
Yeah, of course, what is there not to say about the viewers, the community on the channel? Everybody's so positive. I'm so thankful for the positive people. We don't have, people busting into the chat and causing ruckus. Everybody's on the same page. We're all just here to enjoy Star Wars, chat as if we're just talking at work with coworkers or friends or whoever, family, whatever. So you guys are great. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being part of the Outer Rim Transmission community. I don't know about you guys, but I got a Star Wars tree to decorate. I'm going to turn on Force Awakens as soon as we hit done record, and I'm going to watch Star Wars The Force Awakens 10 years as I'm putting Star Wars decoration ornaments on the tree. So I got a good night planned for me after I spent an hour or so wrapping gifts behind me right before the show. So it's a festive evening, but I hope everybody out there enjoys the holidays. Have a safe holiday. And a happy new year to everybody. For Bill and for Ben, for Chris, aka this was Outer Rim Transmission 218. There goes 2025. We'll see y'all in 2026. Have a good one. Stay safe. May the force be with you always. End transmission.